That's what I'm saying, where's the money going? Okay, like, the first retire, they got like some $10,000 in the road. That was supposed to be over there where we live.
Kim did the same thing, we paid $10
This evening,
just for what?
9:30, they're gonna shut down the road. We'll shut it down.
Have you been to grocery lately?
Extra ticket. You even have one price at the bottom.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the City of Copper Cove Town Hall for the Street Maintenance Utility. My name is Ryan Haverlaw, I'm the city manager here, and I will be going through our entire presentation tonight, but I also want to introduce Mr. Scott Osborne. He is the Director of Public Works, and he has been given the task of actually developing the street maintenance utility in greater detail based on City Council's direction. And so here's the plan, is I will go through the entire presentation, and then we're gonna have some really open and honest dialogue, questions and answers. Y'all ask us questions, we're gonna give you answers. If we don't know the answer, and there are things we don't know the answer, we're gonna say, we don't know that, but we're gonna find out what the answer is to the question. So we are not here to sell this, we are here to educate you on this. And as we go through, I'll explain why this is all come about and everything. But right before I get started, just a couple of housekeeping things. If you haven't been here before, this is the City Council Chambers. This is where City Council meets, first and third Tuesday of every month. If you ever want to be involved and engaged in your local government, this is a great place to be, great place to start. You can also watch these meetings online. They are streamed live on the city's YouTube page. So if you ever want to go watch them live, you can do that too. They're also recorded, so all the past ones are there if you want to watch those as well. Out in the hallway is our restrooms, men and women's restrooms, as well as a water fountain. If you need any water at all while we go through this. We have a couple of our city council members here, so I want to introduce them to you really quickly. Starting over here on my right, your left is Christina Strophus, and walking through we have Miss Vanya Hart, we have Dell Treadway, we have Miss Rita Hogan, and I missed somebody last time because I didn't see them. Did I miss any of my bosses? No? Okay. All right, so we do have the mayor and 3 other council members. And if you weren't aware, election time is coming up in November. The city's election has been canceled because all of the city council positions are unopposed. And so those who have filed for city council are now elected to those positions, but won't take their seat in those positions until November. Okay, so I'm gonna walk through this, and here's the main thing we're trying to do. We're trying to fix our streets. That's the main thing we're trying to do. We have an agenda. We're gonna walk through all of this agenda, looking at our network, past, current, and future, what our recent accomplishments are, and what we're trying to do in the future. Pavement condition and assessment, that is basically a study. That is the grade for the condition of our streets. We're gonna look at that one. Then we'll talk about the next steps, which are those future actions that are coming after these meetings occur. And then we'll get to the questions and answers, and we will be here and answer as many questions as you have. So first, let's look at our network. What is the network? That is all the roads through our entire city. In 2016, the Street Maintenance Division, as voters, we in Coppers Cove approved shifting 1/8 of a penny on the sales tax Economic Development Corporation dedicated to street maintenance. That work, then created that fund, and then in 2023, we as voters again approved another 1/8 cent being moved from the Economic Development Corporation to street maintenance. So now, Economic Development Corporation, they receive 1/4 of a penny on the sales tax, and then street maintenance receives 1/4 of a penny on the sales tax. And it is all dedicated and can only be used for street maintenance. Currently, our funding for that 1/4 cent is about $1.3 million. That $1.3 million goes into that dedicated street maintenance fund called an enterprise fund. That way, everything that goes in there is that revenue, everything that comes out is only for street maintenance. $1.3 million is the amount of the general maintenance on our streets. So we're filling potholes. We are sealing cracks that are in the road. We are doing vegetation management along the roadsides and along the right-of-ways. And that $1.3 million pays for all of that work. This coming year, which our fiscal year begins on October 1st, there will be no additional dollars for larger maintenance projects. When I say larger maintenance projects, that's where we are doing a new seal coat, a new surface on the roadway, or where we are milling up that roadway, we're removing the top layer and then putting a new layer on top. This will be the first year in many years that we do not have sufficient funding to do that level of street maintenance. But we will continue all the regular street maintenance, such as the pothole repairs, crack sealing, vegetation control and management. So what is the future? And that is to be determined. And that's why we are having these meetings, to talk about the street maintenance utility. And that is an additional fee, and we're gonna look at what that additional fee is and talk about how that amount came about. But we are focused on fixing our streets. And city council can decide they don't wanna add this new utility program. And that means the condition of our streets, as we'll see here in just a little bit, will continue to slowly decrease or degrade. So let's talk about some of the things that have been done. Very recently, we did some of the road maintenance, and this is some of those larger scale maintenance projects. Left side is Bronx Road, right side is Pinto Road, and you can see that that road was mill and overlaid, so it's a nice, smooth, black surface. No cracks, all the seams are sealed on it. Left side is Pecan Cove, and then the right side there is Walker Boulevard. Pecan Cove was a complete, near complete reconstruction, which included also drainage improvements along that roadway. And then Walker Boulevard, a portion of Walker Boulevard was redone as well. On the left side, we have Freedom Lane, and then the right side, Klein Road. Freedom Lane, for the most part, had a nice overlay, so it's, again, nice sealed top, preventing that water intrusion into the roadway. On the right side, we have Klein Road, where we went and we removed and reconstructed just patches along Klein Road. But again, done properly, so we don't have speed bumps where those patches are done. All of y'all have driven over those in the past. Our street maintenance department has really improved the last several years on actually doing these types of projects and making sure that that roadway stays smooth. And this is what we don't want our roads to become. This is, on the left side, it looks like a dirt road, but that's actually a old paved road, county road. It's called Bradford. And so if you go down north on FM 1113 or west on 1113, it is the only road to the left after you pass City Park where there's a neighborhood back there before you get out of town. And this neighborhood, for lack of a better term, has been forgotten. It's one of the last involuntarily annexed areas in the city, which means these roads were built to county standards and have never had any maintenance work done on them. And we do get calls to come and do patches. You can see there's some darker areas, along, those roadways where we've tried to do some patching, but it's just gonna keep failing and going away. On the right side is, just more Bradford Oak, we gotta get that area redone. Left side is Avenue B. So now we're more inside the city limits, a little bit more. And you can see how that road is, really starting to, be bumpy. It's not a smooth ride anymore. You can see there's lots of cracks. The right side is Grimes Crossing. Again, used to be a county road, very little maintenance has ever been done on that road. Left side is, South First Street. And you can see on the left side of that picture, a thing called alligator cracking. That's where there's many cracks that start to look like the back of an alligator. On the right side, we have Sherwood. You can see some of that alligator cracking occurring in the middle of that picture as well. And so those are just examples of what has been done in improving roads and what still needs to be done and trying to improve roads. So the city has currently 168 center line miles of road. So if we just measure the center line of those roads, we have 168 miles within the city limits. And that continues to grow. There's a whole list of new housing developments included in that bullet point right there that have been a contributor to the new miles in our city. We're gonna look at the pavement assessment study that was done previously. At that time, we had 153 miles. So we've added 15 miles in the course of about 4 years in the city. That's a lot more roadway to maintain. We completed that pavement condition assessment in 2021, finalized at the very beginning of 2022. And now we're gonna look at what that assessment did and what grade we as a community received. So this is part of the presentation that was given to City Council back in 2022. And we hired an engineer to come and evaluate the road. And the engineer we ended up hiring, he didn't just sit in a vehicle, he didn't look on Google Earth. He was boots on the ground and brought his team and looked at our streets. Did a phenomenal job of preparing this assessment. So this is our roadway network when that assessment was completed. And just for explanation, I talked about the additional 15 miles that's been added. This neighborhood up here is almost fully built out. Lot more road miles up there. We have a whole new neighborhood down here that isn't reflected, and a whole lot more road miles added down there, as well as some of the other areas in here. But you can see on the far right side, the excellent condition of this assessment said that 11% of our roads were in excellent condition. That's basically a brand new road that was put in. Good condition, about 18% of our roads. Fair condition, 16%, so that's about average now. And then we get to poor at 35% and failed at 18%. Those categories, and I would encourage you to look at the study, and we'll talk about the flyer here in just a moment. But that study can be accessed through the flyer that you received. Talks about these different condition categories and how each of these roadway segments were graded. But this is a really important map. This map shows where all of those areas are. So red, we'll start with red, that's bad, that means stop, that means something's wrong. Those are all the failed sections of roadway. Yellow are the poor sections. The kind of grayish, dark gray areas are the fair, then we have good, and then excellent with blue and green. And you can see there's a lot of red, and there's a lot of yellow up there. That's the work and the effort that we're trying to improve through our entire city. So on the left side is the percentage. So we kind of talked about that, the percentage, and 4 being at 34%, Feld at 16% over there on the left side. But the cost to repair these is not reflected in the same percentage of the condition of those roadways. So if Feld was at 17%, the cost though to improve those failed roads is almost 28%. So as roads continue to degrade, the cost to repair those or improve those goes up per mile. It gets more expensive to repair major roadway failures versus trying to maintain them. And so you can see in the good category, we have 19%. That's the blue right there. Well, if we just put the cost in to maintain those good roads, you can see it's almost 4% of the total cost of the repairs that we're looking to do. So now let's look at the total cost. So I'm just gonna drop you to the bottom right. This is 2022, $52 million to one time go in and repair and bring all of our roads up to an excellent condition. But we're not gonna do that, because that means in about 5 to 6, 7, 10 years, we're gonna spend another $52 million. That's not reasonable. And so we need to have a very strategic approach, a methodology that makes the most sense. And you can see on the right side what that cost per square yard is to do that level of work. So if all we're doing is sealing the cracks, so you see a crack on the road, it's where the pavement has separated, and we just seal it, put some, and I don't know, is it like fiber tar type of material? 65 cents per square yard, if that's all we did. But then we drop all the way down to fully reconstructing a roadway, which means we have to dig up that roadway, redo the base, redo the mid levels, and then redo the top. That's $52 a square yard. And these are 2022 figures. This is not 2025 figures. 2025 figures have increased because inflation does not stop. And we all feel that every day we go to the store. This is the chart of what our score was. Overall, we had about a 60 PCI, Pavement Condition Index score for our overall roadway system. And that was in 2021. And so if all we did is we continued to contribute the budget that was established back then at $1.7 million, the condition of the roadway would continue to decrease over time. And that is what we have seen. Thankfully, because council has allocated funding towards some of those more major maintenance efforts of milling and overlaying the roads, we're not down at a 51 PCI or 52 PCI yet, thankfully, because city council has prioritized the maintenance of those roadways. But city council had a goal in 2022, and they said, over 10 years, let's get to a 70 PCI. So that's about in that fair category. That's maintaining what we have, that's replacing the really bad stuff, and really kind of keeping it level. So in a 5-year period, we should be up to about 65 PCI. And at that time, the cost to slowly start increasing that score of our average roadway was about $4.6 million annually. Remember, what we were spending was 1.7 in 2022. The goal was 4.6, and over the years, up until this coming year, we've been doing about that 1.7, and now it's at 1.3 million. So that's the goal. You can see we need substantial improvement in our roadways. City Council's goal was to increase that PCI over time. One of the ways City Council has directed us to try to achieve that is to identify a funding source to do that. And I've been asked the question many times, well, why don't we just use property taxes? I pay property taxes every year. And you're right, we do pay property taxes every year. Through our budgeting process, there are insufficient funds to move into major roadway projects. And we can talk about the budget and all that. If those are your questions, write those down, keep those in your mind, because we'll get to those and we'll answer those. But City Council identified the street maintenance utility as an option and directed staff to begin developing that option. Now, this is not the first time City Council has discussed the street maintenance utility. They have actually been discussing the street maintenance utility since 2012. And there was insufficient information to move it forward until this year.
You're talking about lights.
I'm sorry?
Is that what you're talking about? Street lights, that sort of thing, when you say
No.
utility?
No, street, the roadway system.
Okay.
That's it, just the roadway system. So when City Council gave us direction to move forward with the street maintenance utility, we began identifying several options. And the option that City Council gave us to move forward with was a street maintenance utility fee. And that's what the program is all about, and that's what we're here talking about, really. Because it's eventually going to impact us as residents and the businesses here in town as well. So, an analysis was done. We took the condition assessment, so we had that engineer come through and grade our entire streets. Then we worked with the preparation of what that fee would look like. And that took a lot of work because we've got a lot of customers, we've got a lot of different types of businesses that impact our roads differently. And so we hired, City Council hired a company called NewGen Strategies to work on this study and develop the information that we're about to look at. And so they went through a specific methodology. First, they identified the trip generation data. So as a household, I generate so many trips on the road. I drive to work, I drive to the store, I drive to schools, I drive to practices, I drive to meetings like this, and we that live in residential homes generate trips. Businesses do the same thing, but it's based on the type of business that is out there, and that's what this company helped identify. Then we created simplified land use categories. So residential, that's easy, it's residential. But within residential, there's also apartments. Doesn't generate the same as a single family resident. There's also duplexes, quadplexes, different types of residential structures, just like I talked about with businesses, which is that third one, identify non-residential parcels. And then we assign those parcels to land use categories. So we took all the data and we tried to simplify it down into something that is understandable instead of looking at every single thing uniquely. And then calculate the total trips for each of those parcels. So once we got through all of that, this is what we came up with. Almost 34,000 single family equivalent trips. What is a single family equivalent trip? Single family as a house generates a specific number of trips. And so if we say that specific number of trips is equal to one single family equivalent, then we can actually classify all the businesses into that standard as well. So, but you can see the very top one is residential, 11,854 single family equivalent trips, just for us that live here. No businesses, not even looking at businesses. But you can see the difference between 10,000 and 34,000. That's about a 2/3 to 1/3 ratio. 2/3 business, 1/3 residential. So with taking those numbers, we then broke it down into different fees. And you can see over here on the far left side, a fee of $2.73 per single family resident would generate about $1 million annually. And that assumes about 10% not being collected because of customers not paying. So $2.73 will generate $1 million. And remember, back in 2022, how much was the annual amount needed to start improving that PCI? $4.6 million. Okay, so try to keep those numbers in mind, and if not, we'll walk you through it again. But this table was generated just to start giving city council enough information to start giving us direction on where they wanted to go. $1 would generate about $407,000 in revenue. After non-collection, $366,000. Drop it all the way down to $10. $10 fee would generate about $3.6 million. And that's if businesses were charged the same rate as single-family residences. So let's look at how that impacts businesses just a quick comparison. Copperas Cove is not the only city that has looked at this or implemented this. And all of these cities have implemented a street maintenance utility. Austin being the highest at $17.87, which has been charged for a few decades at this point. Our closest neighbor, Killeen, at $10, Lampasas, $7 right there, and many of the other cities that are listed there. So we were asked, well, the quarter-cent sales tax, is it sufficient? And we've already seen that. It's 1.3, generates about $1.3 million. It's not sufficient to begin actually improving our overall roadway structure. The street maintenance utility, the specific fee, we worked on to try to make it as equitable as we can. And that's why we're having these meetings, so that we can share this with you. And then we get to share this back with city council, because city council has not adopted this fee yet. This is not active. And we are doing these meetings proactively so that we can share this with city council. So here we are, we're doing the public outreach portion of this. We have scheduled 7 town hall meetings. 4 are for residential focused presentations. 3 of those are commercial focused presentations. And those commercial presentations are much more detailed, because we get into the methodology of how each business fee is actually calculated and how it's applied to that business. It is much more complicated. So if you want to come to those meetings, by all means do. So we're here getting the information. City council will then consider adoption of the ordinance. So here's the timeline. Oh, before I get to the timeline, we are also meeting with a number of other groups who have asked us to come speak with them. We've already met with 2 of them. We've got about 2 this week to go to. We've got several over the next couple of weeks. And those are different civic groups, such as the Exchange Club, Rotary Club. I don't know all of them that we've got scheduled, but we've got several of them scheduled. So if you want to come to another meeting to get more information about this, the flyer that you have has all of those dates listed on it. On the bottom right of that flyer is a QR code. I don't like to scan QR codes. I get it. It is a safe QR code. We created it, and it goes to a web page on the city's website that has this presentation, the flyer. It has the pavement condition index study. It has the other information on the preparation of the fee and by Nugent on there. And do we have the draft ordinance out there yet?
Not quite yet.
Not yet. We'll have the draft ordinance, which is basically the local law that city council will consider adopting, establishing the street maintenance utility program and the fees that would be attached to it. Okay. again, I told you, I'm Ryan Haverlaw, this is Scott Osborne, that's Scott's information up there. And now is the time where we wanna answer questions. And before I do, Scott, you wanna add anything else?
No, I think, Ryan went through it, pretty succinctly. This has been, since we were charged by city council to evaluate this potential option. It has been since about 2020, 2021, where we started this process in earnest. All of the studies, as Ryan stated, are on our website. They're very detailed. The pavement condition assessment, has at the end of it, an appendix that has every single street in the city at that time, along with a corresponding grade to that. So, for example, with Bradford Oaks, you'll see on there, if you look up Bradford Oaks, that condition was about a 20. Obviously, you saw a picture that kind of correlates to what that failed condition looks like. The transportation feasibility analysis, if you're more interested on the non-residential side, as Ryan stated, it really gets into that methodology in detail and discusses how those numbers were arrived at. But with that, I think Ryan covered it all, and we're definitely here and open for your questions, concerns. Ultimately, our charge at this point is to bring that back to city council and provide them with the concerns, the comments, anything else we derive from these town hall meetings, so they can make a reasoned decision. So nothing's been adopted yet. Nobody likes additional fees. I live here too. I don't wanna pay another fee. But being the public works director, I definitely see the losing battle that we're fighting against our roads. Y'all experienced on the way in as you're riding over these roads. This will not get better with time, I guarantee you, unless more resources are utilized to really help us get ahead of that declining condition.
So if you have questions, just please raise your hand, I'll call on you. That way we kind of keep some order, and we make sure that we get everybody's questions answered. So, yes, ma'am.
So question, I don't know, maybe I missed it because I came in a little bit late. So we're just talking about minimal road working. We're not talking about safety issues like speed bumps in areas where people speed, things like that.
Right, this is just the maintenance of the roadway. Speed bumps are not part of the maintenance. That would actually add a higher level of maintenance to be done on those roadways. If you have specific concerns about speeding, you can actually email me directly and I'll forward that to our police department. Our police department actually does what is called neighborhood policing. And there is a specific police officer that's assigned to every single neighborhood. They don't go out there and sit, okay? That's not what they do. But what they do is they take concerns like what you have, and they have that dialogue, and so that they can understand what your concern is and what the areas are, so that they can have a little bit greater focus in responding to those concerns. Yes, sir.
Okay, we went right behind Walmart and the church there, they did 2 big patches. They are worse now than they were before. What kind of road work does the city actually do? Because I mean, they're more bumpier than they were before they fixed them. Come on now, we gotta do our job.
And I'm familiar with the patches you were looking at. In my opinion, they were worse before. They were cut out and re-leveled, which is what you see. Ideally, that entire stretch, MLK Jr. Boulevard, from its intersection with Constitution down to Little Caesar there, would be completely mill and overlaid to make that even surface as you see with Pecan Cove here. But again, that stretch alone for a mill and overlay is probably about $900,000.
Yeah, but at least they could have done a decent job. You know, they got the equipment, they had the ruler out there. Who inspects this when they're done?
Right, and I'm just gonna reiterate what Ryan stated earlier about our crews and the quality of patching. I'll respectfully disagree with you, but over the last 3 years, they've done a lot better job of actually making those patches level and stand the test of time. Everybody's entitled to their opinion though, so I definitely recognize your opinion.
Yes, sir.
I have a few things, I'm sorry. But one of them is, so the single family equivalent, we have, that's a kind of our base number that that everything else
Correct.
is either minus or plus on, for the, I would like to put out there that nobody has less than the single family equivalent if we go through this. So there are some that are less than single family equivalent per 1,000 foot, but if they're a 900 foot facility, they're paying less than that. So every meter, I feel, should, at the minimum, have the single family equivalent, no matter what.
And if I may, with one caveat, the single family equivalent is the single family detached residential
Absolutely.
house. A duplex, based on our averages derived from the IT manual, actually generate a little bit less at about 0.55, 0.63.
Right, exactly,
So,
I agree.
so there, the multifamily fee would be about 630.
But it's wrong.
Right.
It's wrong,
Okay.
because it doesn't fit this environment we live in. We're a military facility, most of those apartments and duplexes are housed military, okay? So they come in, or they leave at 5:30, they come back from DT, they go back out, they take their kids to school, they bring them back, they do all these things in that same stuff, and 60% of Copper's Cove has more than 2 cars, or 2 cars or more. So that kind of thought that somebody who lives in an apartment doesn't make as many trips as a single family dwelling, and I've read the document, it says, yeah, there's more people living in the house, they're gonna take more trips. I don't think that actually fits. It really doesn't fit the environment that we actually have.
Okay.
And the same thing with, I see a lot of gray hair. We don't drive out on the road as
Don't
much.
talk about
We
my
don't
hair
drive
like
on
that.
the road as much.
My
We
wife
don't
likes
drive
it.
as much as a young family does necessarily, right? But we're all typically homeowners. We put our kids through school, we've done all those kind of things. Now we're in that house by ourselves typically. A lot of us are. And so with that number, that single family equivalent number that they're using as a driving force and then moving the Transportation Engineers Institute people, it's kind of skewed, you know? It might work for their stuff, and if you look at what they looked at, a lot of times it was urban environments that don't necessarily fit our more suburban environments. So those apartments I think should be counted as the same. It's only my 2 cents.
Sure.
Okay, so it's my 2 cents that those trips don't necessarily fit that, and I believe that everybody, all those guys, the duplexes and stuff, they have young families in there, they're going to the daycare, they're going to the school, they're still making all those things, so that kind of number of trips at a single family dwelling probably isn't more than what would be at an apartment who people live here temporarily.
Okay.
So,
Received.
thank you.
I think, saw your hand back here. Yes.
Yeah, I was commenting on what the first gentleman said about holding who's actually going out there? You didn't answer his question. Who's actually going out there to make sure these patch jobs are done the right way? I mean, somebody's gotta be held accountable, because we keep passing the buck here.
Yeah, and there is definitely accountability. The street and drainage division is headed by John Field, my street and drainage superintendent. The actual street supervisor is Kevin Foster over here. So there is an accountability chain, and I'm at the top of that chain. So if you do have concerns, we are very easy to locate. You can feel free to give us a call, and we'll talk about your concern.
And very specifically, holding accountable, I mean, ultimately, city council holds me accountable, and then I hold Scott accountable, and then it goes down the chain, right?
Right.
And when I talked about the patching work that is done now, especially versus what it was done about 5-6 years ago, tremendously better. Tremendously better.
But that
And
doesn't
we,
matter.
we actually,
Today's
made sure that happened. One, because city council was holding me accountable for the level of work that was being done. And then Scott made sure that his team understood how to do those patches more correctly. And so I understand your comment that, you know, it's
It isn't
worse.
being done though, that's the whole problem.
You said that it's worse than it
spending all
was
this
before.
money to
Hang on,
fix
sir,
that
hang on,
patch.
hang on. I understand you said it was done worse than it was before that.
Yeah.
But if we didn't do anything, it would absolutely be not only worse, but dangerous compared to what it is now.
Okay, so we got asphalt over a bump.
Well,
No, we
you know,
spent money for this to be done. It should have been done correctly the first time. I've worked for the city I retired. I've seen patchwork done years ago compared to what's done now. I don't agree with what's being done now. They did a better job, they camped it, they rolled it, and they double checked it. We're not doing that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I have a question,
Yeah,
not about fixing roads.
okay.
You got $3 million that you're looking to generate per year.
Yes.
Do we have the capability to utilize, to spend that $3 million for what we're doing?
The answer is yes.
And that's within the city or through contractor or both?
Primarily, these funds would be utilized to go out for packages, bid packages in essence, to get a lowest contractor to come in here and do a neighborhood type approach on these roads. Some, throughout the city, and again, it's based on that pavement condition assessment. There's various ways to manage that. For example, as you see the categories, you have good and fair. If you have a neighborhood in fair that is teetering on that fair to poor, you can hit that and bring that back up before it slides into that next category, thereby exponentially increasing that cost. But to directly answer your first question, yes, we have the resources, we execute projects on a monthly basis in Public Works, and we have the ability to do this.
Yes, sir.
Little concern for the, annexed areas. We were annexed about 8, 9 years ago. Maybe 2 patches on the road since then.
Bradford Oaks?
No,
Oh, no.
Lazy Lane off of 2657.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Water runs down the side of the road. We say, hey, come on, it's undercutting, and it hasn't been fixed. So I'd just be concerned about, it affects about 4 of us. Okay, we'll get to you a little bit later, where somebody, a neighborhood that might have 20 or 30 residents, just seems to get more attention if we get left by the wayside. And one other thing, in all of Copper's Cove, I've noticed that gray colored pavement is the one that does the alligator stuff you were talking about. All the dark colored pavement, to include the bypass, when they put that in, it stays, it's good. So is that, have y'all noticed that? The lighter colored pavement cracks faster than the dark?
I think, well, as far as asphalt coverings, there's different types of material. And what you see on the bypass, as an example, is built to a highway standard. And if we did that type of roadway throughout all of Copper's Cove, we'd run out of money really quick, because it costs more to put that type of material on it. It's like the difference between asphalt and concrete also. Concrete's pretty expensive.
Yeah.
But if you have been on Constitution Drive, you know that that is now concrete. The reason that's concrete is because of the utilities that were under the road and needing to do drainage work also. It was more cost efficient to do the concrete. So when we redo roadways, we look at the various options that are out there, and we do the very best for the resources that we have to get as far as we can with those resources. So I understand your concern and your comment. I guess I'll pay attention more on the color, which one does that and doesn't do that. And make sure that as we move forward in those projects that we are using those good materials, so. Yes, sir.
When it comes to annexing properties, do you have a set standard for the roads before you annex it? And if it doesn't meet the standards, we're gonna end up paying for their sloppy work.
Yeah.
Cause contractors are not gonna spend a dime more than they need to.
I've got great news for you.
Okay.
Not that it is entirely impossible, but it is almost virtually impossible to involuntarily annex any areas outside of the city in the current state legislation. The areas such as Lazy Lane that were annexed involuntarily, which means the city had a plan. They said, hey, we're gonna annex this area, public notices all over the place, council eventually passes an ordinance, and now that area is part of the city. The way state law is written now, we can't do that. And the reason why is because those residents would actually have to vote on whether they get annexed or not. And how likely are you, if you live outside of the city limits, and the city says, hey, we wanna annex you so that we can provide you service, so you can pay us taxes, and you can trust us, are you gonna vote for that? Probably not. And so all the new areas that are annexed are voluntarily annexed, typically a developer that wants to put in multiple homes as a neighborhood, they voluntarily annex into the city
And that
because they
goes back to
want the
my
city
question
services.
though. Before you allow him to voluntarily be annexed,
They,
you have a standard.
they must construct the streets according to our standard specifications for those roads, yes, sir.
That's what I was asking.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, I saw another question here.
My issues with the financing. We just had a utility rate increase, about $13 the minimum. You add this $10, that's going to bring it up to $23 minimum. I'm probably looking at about $30 more a month. You got a 1/4 cent from sales tax. Them other cities you showed on there, do they take money out of their sales tax for their, street maintenance?
I don't know the answer to that.
I doubt it. The thing is, why not, I know it'd have to go for a vote, why couldn't we do another 1/4 cent on top of what we got now? Maybe go with $2, and that'd put you over that 4 million, I think.
Good question. So add to the additional sales tax. So state law says for local sales tax, so the state gets 6.25% in sales tax. The state also says the maximum sales tax, without a few special exceptions, can only be 8.25%, which means that's 2% that is eligible for local use. Half a penny of that, or half a cent, a percentage point, goes to the county, Coryell County. A 1/4 cent of that goes to the Economic Development Corporation. 1/4 cent goes to street maintenance. And 1 cent goes to the city's general fund to pay for general services such as public safety, parks and recreation, code compliance, those animal control, those types of services. So we actually don't have the ability to increase it by another 1/4 cent unless we take that 1/4 cent from the Economic Development Corporation. And that's not something I would recommend.
Is that our only source of income, is from the road maintenance right now, is just the sales tax?
Yes, sir.
So we don't get any other money for property taxes? You pay on pump?
100% of the property taxes covers public safety, police and fire. It doesn't cover all of public safety, which is why sales tax covers another portion, the remaining portion of that. The sales tax then covers an additional portion, or, portions for, parks and recreation, animal control, code compliance, building development services, administration, and then there are charges for services. So when I put my boys in a recreation program, I pay a fee. Well, that fee helps pay towards the program that they're in. When I call an ambulance and the ambulance comes, well, I pay a part of that medical service that's received, so that's part of a charge for service as well. So, yeah, if you would like to look at the city's budget or actually go over it, I can definitely spend time and go over it. City Council just adopted the new budget for next fiscal year. And, as voters, last year, you all approved a tax rate election at 60%. And that was to help fund and pay the, compensation adjustments for police and fire. Because we weren't able to do that without that election. And as far as our budget is concerned, property tax, if we
It keeps going up every year.
absolutely it does. And one of the unique situations that Coppers Cove and Killeen and Coryell County and Bell County are in is we have a higher population of 100% disabled veterans that receive a 100% exemption on their property tax. 20%, actually at this point, it's more than 20% of our property tax revenue is exempted. So we are providing 100% of service based on 80% of the revenue. I'm not complaining about the exemption they got. I'm not. They're deserving by serving and sacrificing themselves for our country.
Yeah.
However,
Give it back, they just-
the state, we've been working with the state to try to be reimbursed some of that. The state has a nice surplus, but I'm not gonna get into that because we'll be here all night. I'll talk about it all night long.
Yeah,
So, but yeah, if you wanna talk about budget a little bit longer, we definitely can. So I saw, yes, sir, you had a question.
Is this the right one to ask about some of these, contractors that are laying cables and things like that?
You mean MetroNet? We have no problem naming them, okay? Yeah.
That one I recognize, the Bright Star.
So what is your question?
My question is, okay, so does the department, DPW, follow these guys, they must have a constraint on how long they can have the holes that they dig up and repair patches, whatever. I haven't gone and surveyed the city, but I know in my area over here behind Walmart and that way, there's a lot of little squares out there that seem to be open for quite a long time, and I don't know what's open about.
And the short answer is we've been working directly with these companies for the last year to follow them and get them to fix and pay for what they've damaged. We continue that process. You're talking about, little holes in the pavement or where the pavement bubbles up because they bore too shallowly. John and his folks, we are in constant communication with these people. We send them invoices, we track their repairs. Sometimes there's dispute about the, various repairs, so we go through a process to rectify that. But believe me, we are invoicing these companies for the damages they were making. It's not only in the streets, it's our water lines, it's our sewer lines. Unfortunately, they have kind of a carte blanche authority to occupy the right of way, but we're managing that to the extent we can and recovering as much as we can to go back and repair what has been damaged.
Those of us that don't have large trucks and things, and I get suspensions, and a smaller car, when you hit some of these
Yeah.
smaller holes,
Yeah.
they can damage things,
Right.
and then, the insurance doesn't pay.
And if that does occur and you have, document your issue, we have direct contacts with these companies. You'd still have to prove, hey, it was your hole, you left it open and damaged my tire, all of that. It's a possibility, but we do have those direct contacts with those companies, that we call on behalf of citizens to at least put you in contact with these folks. For what's going.
Gentleman back.
Can you speak to, how much like a business like Walmart or H-E-B would pay in fees, for the utility?
Yeah, so, I'll let Scott talk a little bit more detail about this, but in general, city council has, initially set an artificial limit of about $2,500 a month. City council talked about the resident fee being $10 a month. And so a Walmart, an H-E-B, their likely fee would be about $2,500 a month. CCISD is actually the largest impacted organization in our city. Well, they're taxing entity also, right? But they still generate a lot of trips on the road. They got a lot of buses. And so we will be working with them and making a recommendation to council to, set a different limit on CCISD, because if you take, how many schools? 14 schools? I think 14 campuses at $2,500 a piece. Well, guess whose taxes are going up? All of our taxes, right? Because that's eventually where, that's their funding source, that's their stream. So, does that answer your question?
Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
There was another one that hadn't asked a question. Yes, sir. Mr. Sandor.
Yes, I would like to have that breakdown somehow, dollars and cents, so even I can understand. Like you said, you have 168 miles over here, okay, we have to do. Now, how many miles, how much cost 1 mile to fix, and how long it take to do this 168 miles? The reason I'm saying that is that don't wanna wind up like we have the drainage fee that we paying up here for the last 10 years or so, collecting millions of dollars, and then we're gonna pay it for the next 50 years. Now, do we have anything when say, that's gonna take 10 years to do it, okay, and we're collecting $10 a piece or whatever, you know, if that's money, it's enough to do it. Well, how you figure that 1 mile, how much it costs and how long it take to do it?
And let me answer just based on some recent roadway construction we've had in the city. Probably the cleanest example, most recent example would be Constitution from MLK Jr. and Constitution back to Business 190. Of course, as Ryan stated, that was redone in concrete for obvious reasons. We have a lot of heavy trucks and industry-ish out there, and ultimately that leads back to the Narrows, where we're trying to get some additional pretty heavy businesses. But that stretch from MLK Jr. once again back to Business 190 was about $2.2 million, but that was a complete reconstruction, rebuild with concrete.
Wasn't that done by
So
EDC?
you have some
That was
kind of
EDC
a-
funded,
some kind
yes,
of
it
a
was.
average. You know, some kind of average that,
Yes.
that 1 mile cost, I don't know, $2 million or what, 168 miles,
Well, 1
times 2
mile-
million, you know, takes so long. And then when you write the contract or whatever up there, you know, you can put down, that's gonna be 15 years gonna be paid off, and then we don't have to pay the $10 every one.
Okay, and this issue came up, I was made aware that this issue came up when the drainage utility was adopted in this town. At that point, it was stated the drainage utility would be a temporary fee. Here we are about 15 years later, that fee is still ongoing, and it's, quite frankly, it's needed to maintain the drainage throughout the city. If you think about the drainage throughout the city, we have culverts, we have channels, we have pipes, we have everything else. Ultimately, those fail without repairs to those or actually maintaining the grass to the extent we can. They get blockages and they block up that stormwater flow, ultimately leading to flooding. So although it was stated back then that this is a temporary fee, reality shows that our drainage utility is a forever thing. The street maintenance utility, I can't in good faith say this is a temporary thing.
You know, we have the highest tax rate, you know, around the area here, and we adding that $6 here, $2 there, and then this and this and this to it. We're paying about $30, $40 extra, you know.
Right, but what I would like to highlight.
You know, plus the tax.
Right, what I would like to highlight here, you're talking about timing. This is a long-range goal that City Council has established, and that's to bring our average pavement condition index of our network from a 60 up to a 70, right? That's basically a 10-year at that 4.6 to start moving it up. Based on our recent calculations, you know, we're 3 years removed from that study where it said it was a 60 average. Right now, we're at a 58 average throughout the network because we do update and maintain what's called has that asset, it's an asset management system. So we enter in data relating to everything we do on the streets, whether we do a mill and overlay through this stretch or a crack seal through here or make point repairs here. But as you can see, that's slipping. But as what city council's goal is to get it up to that 70 and then maintain that 70. You recall on the slides here, as you get away from those poor and failed conditions, you start getting into the treatments that are less costly, exponentially. For example, if you're at a 70, you're probably doing a mill and overlay with maybe 20% base repair, which costs about $21 compared to a reconstruction at 60 based on these numbers. That being said, the goal is to get to that 70 and maintain. So that cost would plateau at that point because you're properly maintaining your streets. That's the goal. It's gonna take a long time to get to all of these streets. Quite frankly, it's gonna take a lot of resources. However, if we don't get after it, it will continue to fall down this scale and become more and more unobtainable.
Just one more question, sir. Are we collecting impact fee?
Sorry?
Are we collecting impact fee?
Impact fees.
Impact fees are currently, go ahead.
Yeah, we're not collecting impact fees. City council gave us direction earlier this year to begin the study. It requires a study in order to develop an impact fee program. And even if we did have an impact fee program, it does not pay for the maintenance of current assets or current systems. So it won't pay to maintain our current roadways. It will help fund expansion of roadways, of water service, of wastewater service, but it doesn't help maintain it, even if we had those impact fees.
Yeah,
So-
but take some money away from other things.
Yes, okay, so I know we have more questions, but before I do, is anybody over here? You had a question, okay.
A little bit different subject, on the median strips, we're up to this 190 now. I know this, the state pays for the majority of the construction, but the city is responsible for the maintenance, correct?
It's kind of mixed.
It's kind of mixed. To an extent, we're actually renegotiating our municipal maintenance agreement with TxDOT as we speak. However, even under the existing municipal maintenance agreement, we have responsibilities as being that host city, for example, where we go out and ensure that we do the cleanup, we do some mowing, we sweep as we can. Historically, the state has been responsible for snow removal, ice removal, things of that nature, and actually to fix facilities that break. Say the roadway needs resurfacing, that would be on the state. However, as we start negotiating this new agreement, a lot more is being asked of the city, that further pulls on the resources we have.
I understand that, Scott, but the mowing of the weeds is one thing, and that's, it was brought to my attention in my capacity, that things are not right. What I see all the time is the seepage of water from underneath the median strips that will eventually erode the base of the roadway. So apparently, something was not done correctly when the median strip was built to begin with. Apparently, the base was not done the way it was supposed to have been done, but it still passed inspection, which I don't think it should have been.
I'll speak to that. TxDOT's fully aware of that. TxDOT also recognizes that the roadway surface and some of the base did not meet all of their specifications, which is also why they withheld payment from the contractor for some of the failed work that was performed that didn't meet their standard. And TxDOT has also stated that the resurfacing or rework of that roadway will have to be done sooner than they originally planned. So they recognize that, yeah. Yes, sir.
One thing on Lazy Lane, especially in Sleepy Hollow, the street next door, are drainage nightmares. Get a hard rain and yards towards the end of the street, but there's no gutters or curbs to water runs down, so it runs into the yards. And they fill up with, 4 inches of water towards the end of the streets. Where that.
Thank you for sharing. Okay, we have questions over here, where are we at? Yes, sir.
Just one more, you mentioned that you were gonna go to look for the lowest bidder. Most of us that have served in the military have existed off lowest bidder. When I was planning for construction of a memorial on Fort Hood, we did not go to the lowest bidder, we went to the lowest bidder that could accomplish the mission. If you get a guy to cut all the grass in Copper's Cove, he's got a 21-inch mower, you ain't gonna get it done. So, while I understand what you meant, but please, let's make sure they can meet the minimum standard before we make a contract with them.
And if I may clarify, state law provides a system of regulations that the city has to utilize to get to that lowest bidder. Actually, the captive term is lowest responsible bidder. Right, and there's a
I'm
lot
satisfied.
of important response.
I thought about that when he said it, I was like, oh no, well, let's just keep going, just roll with it. All right, yes, sir.
So, thank you. I'm sorry to take some more time. All right, so I have some different parts I wanna throw out there about revenue generation, okay? So some of the things that I thought could be thrown out there as brainstorming kind of things were it's not really a revenue stream, this one, but it is one that releases revenue from us. It's a typical risk assessment that we kind of transfer it a little bit. So as we build these developments and new stuff comes on, I believe right now the city does a 1-year warranty on the road,
Correct.
Extend it, tell them, 2 years. Well, that's 1 year you just moved away, that you gave it to somebody else. This is transferring that risk, so make it a 2-3 year. And if people say, I won't build in code, you know they'll still build in code. They will, that is nothing, in fact, they go, yeah, you go build in code, you're gonna have to, good, because and then as a community, we're demanding more of these developments, and they're not costly. I won't go any further on that one, but just say, hey, if you see that, that's something to look, that you move that paying for that road maintenance to somebody else. Franchise taxes. So we just talked about these guys tearing up our roads and different stuff, put $1 on them for every month, for every kind of person. Franchise taxes. That's a really good one. So another one for us, we're paying the county already $10 a month, $10 a year for our cars. Right?
For what?
For road maintenance. So I believe there's a $10 registration fee, if you look it up, that's a Google one, they'll answer you right away. Is the county giving us money for that?
No.
No, they're not. So do we put $10 on our register and apply the fee to the people who are using the road? If you have 2 cars, well, you pay more, and you end up doing that. That's an extra revenue stream that can be added to vehicle registration. And don't leave us disabled veterans out of it, exempt us, make us pay that $10, because we're still using the road. After our service, we still use the road, so. Commercial vehicles. Okay. So, there's so many commercial vehicles around here, that's another one we can, when they register, you're registered in code, you pay. You pay an extra, the AutoZones, all the automobiles, they all have vehicles that are constantly on the road delivering parts around. That registration on that vehicle, touch it from Copper's Cove. Another one, contractors outside of code, coming in, they have to get a license, right? Or they have to be registered. So when they go do a permit, you're a clean contractor, you pay an extra $3 for that permit.
right? Now, they say, well, that's gonna be transferred on to the use. Well, you know, the code, that gives the code contractors a competitive advantage. That helps the business too. If you make a clean contractor pay $5 more for their permit, $10 more for their permit, the code guy becomes more competitive. Then you've got a two-edged knife, you're good and you're collecting money.
That's
So
right.
these are all kind of things that you're trying to help code and do different things. I'm sorry if I'm taking.
I definitely appreciate the recommendations.
I'm sure you looked at them already, a lot of them.
Yeah,
I don't mean to sound like.
Well, no, but as a local government of the state of Texas, there's only so much that we are allowed.
Franchise tax you can.
We already have franchise tax, we already received those, and those continue to be eroded, which means decreased by the state of Texas. And so, yeah, we have franchise tax, but it actually, over the last 14 years that I've been here, it has not tremendously increased, but our population has. But our franchise tax, something's not equal in there. State involvement.
So how do we increase that? I mean, how do we reach out for that? How do we force it to be?
Well, let's get to your question here in just a moment. So, I won't forget you.
No, I'm just thinking of what he's saying, you know, how can we grab this money?
No, I'm sorry to all that kind, but there's lots of different kind of, and I know you guys have looked at them and then there's different ones. But again, we have a lot of gray hair up here, smoked with stuff that we've all been through. We have guys that say contractors before, they've done all these kind of things. They know how to get that last pinch of penny from just at the lowest levels kind of thing. But car registrations is if Coryell County's already getting it and they don't give us anything, and how often do we use their roads? We're hitting out because we're at the very bottom of the county, and the main roads are heading east-west, so we're leaving most of the time, going north if we work in Gatesville, or if we, God knows, if we need a piece of paper, we have to go all the way up there, you know, so.
Just remember, and I'm not trying to poke a bear,
I am.
but Coryell County is considering a substantial tax rate increase. And it's not to pay for more roadway maintenance. And it's mostly the justice system that they're having to pay for. And so the county is a taxing entity, so if they give us funding, where are they gonna get that funding? They're gonna get it back from us.
So that they're already doing road stuff.
Yeah, but they're not gonna do road work in the city. They don't have the ability, they don't work at the
But
same
they're
standard
taking-
as we do.
They're
so.
taking residents from there, so that, I understand.
I get you.
And I hate to say lazy lane guys, but these guys are servicing, they'll have 2 miles of road servicing 3 houses. You know, cause if you drive out of 116, you make a left on one of those paved roads that go out there, there's 3 pieces of property out there. And so that whole road is doing it, where we're so much denser here. And so they'll pay we'll pay theirs, and they don't reciprocate, so.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, but, I don't mean to sound that way, I just see that they have money there.
I understand.
And so also, like I'm saying, if you have the ability to tag the entities that are using the roads, the commercial school is a truck school, rides through our town with those heavy vehicles all the time, they do a laps. And it's, by the way, sorry, off subject, they ride right through the school zones. You've got guys driving big trucks through school zones, and it's their track. And I watch them, because they're by my house, breaking the curbs over by the 116 and 190, because they're trying to make that curve back on.
Sir, they pay by the mile. You don't wanna pay what they have to pay for taxes, the big rigs. They pay by the mile.
Yeah, I understand how that kind of works. I used to work in logistics for a long time. And a lot of times they pay by the road tax from their fuel, and in fact, where they burn the fuel a lot of times.
So in general, a number of those funding recommendations are very difficult, if not prohibited, from us trying to access. So, but if you wanna stick around afterwards, we can talk about those in a little bit more detail. Is that all right? Yeah. Okay. So you asked a question about franchise, and.
Oh, no, I was just
How do
thinking
you-
along the same lines
Yeah.
as what he was saying, I mean, how
do
can
you
we
get
grab that?
Again, we are restricted by whatever the state, has allowed us to do, because as a home rule city, we can just about do whatever we want, except for what the state prohibits us from doing. And they have prohibited home rule cities over the last 2 decades from doing to doing less and less and less. So it just becomes really difficult. It's a much longer conversation, that we can talk through. Other questions? Yes, sir.
So has the council considered cuts to help?
Yes, absolutely. And, the discussion when it comes to cuts is, we have not only presented options to cut services, because that's what it's gonna take, cut services, and in Copper's Cove, because we truly provide a basic level of service to our residents, it is cutting programs. And so we have presented to council, cut the aquatics program. Because overall, the aquatics program doesn't pay for itself. It costs about $100,000 in other revenue streams to operate the aquatics program.
How about the golf course?
Cut the golf course. Right now, the golf course over the last 3 years has been paying for itself. It has actually been reducing its overall deficit. We're well below $1 million now, and so it is actually performing really well. And so, yes, we've had those discussions. In fact, in the last 3 years, I've asked city council very directly, we gotta balance the budget. It's this discussion every single year. I mean, the discussion doesn't go away. Where are we going to cut services, or where are we going to enhance revenue or find revenue? And city council has been very direct to me over the last 3 years. We are a growing community, and we have improved the programs that we are providing. We are not cutting those programs. So the answer to your question is yes, council has considered that. And yes, council has directed me not to cut programs. But we look for efficiencies all the time. And just one example. Our ball fields, we have to have lines on the ball field so that my kids stay in a box when they're playing. Instead of paying 2 employees to go run lines for our games, we bought a robot. We've got a robot putting lines down. It's great, as long as it works, right? As long as it works,
Well,
it's great.
I mean, I come from a marketing background, and when I saw that you guys were changing your logo, I just kind of blew my stack, because you're not only paying for signs to go up, to change signs, you're paying for all your business cards, your paper, your business paper that you're using.
Yeah, which will only occur as those items run out. We're not going to do a blanket change. We're not that busy. We can't.
Right.
So when a truck has to be replaced, that's when the logo gets changed.
Right.
When I have to buy new business cards, that's when my logo on the business card changes. Otherwise, next year, you're gonna get my business card, it's still gonna be the old logo. So come see me next year, you'll find out. Question right back here, Green Hat.
You said this money from the street fee would go into an enterprise fund that could only be used for street maintenance.
Yes, sir.
So what kinds of things exactly are included in street maintenance? Cause I could make an argument that I need a new street department truck, that's street maintenance. Oh, we need more herbicide, that's street maintenance. Like, what kinds of things specifically can it be used for, and is that like codified in the ordinance that they can only be used like for contractors and materials, or is it employee salaries, what?
And it is actually defined in the draft ordinance, as I was stating to Ryan early on in this meeting. I should have that functioning draft placed at that QR code by the end of the week. I'm just making some minor, language revisions. That being said, that has not been adopted, so just to catch that. But to get into your question, street maintenance is inclusive of what that operation needs to run, right? So it does take trucks, it does take material, it does take herbicide. However, as we showed you in the PowerPoint, the operation and maintenance, the basic day-to-day things that they do are taken care of by that 1/4 cent sales tax allocation. The goal here, any funding derived from this fee will be dedicated solely for those additional rehabilitation projects to start moving that pendulum up, that PCI scale. So, at the end of the day, it would encompass everything that enterprise business needs to operate, but the goal is to program as much, if not all, of these additional funds to actually doing these bigger projects.
And let me add on to it, I got you next, okay? City council, after we do all of these town halls, will consider adopting the ordinance in October. So, the 2 October meetings, that's when city council will consider adopting. Recommendation right now is adopt in October, implement the program and the fee in January. Once that's implemented in January, Scott has had the brilliant idea, and I completely support it. By June, we are designing and bidding out projects to be done on our roadways. So that money's not sitting there so that, oh yeah, now I need a new truck. No, it is for those roadway improvements. So, yes, sir.
And I think that's why he was asking that question, is because that's why where we're at right now, is because we've been robbing Peter to pay Paul. Right?
Well, at one point, it is, we're no longer robbing anybody, we're just not paying anything. That's what it came down to. After 2014, we did no street maintenance.
Because we should have been doing this a long time ago from
For 3 years.
what we're seeing right here.
Oh, you're exactly right.
But who's gotta take accountability for that?
Well, you can take it with me right now. I'm the city manager, and here's the thing, is I don't know what was done 20 years ago. Well, I can look at the budget and I can see what happened, right? But I don't know what the decisions were being made back then. I do know what was happening 14 years ago up to today, because I've been with the organization that long. But we also recognize that we are here today, and we have to do something. And so we're just, this is an option. Now, our options are highly limited, and so that's why we are moving down this road. The city council has directed me and Scott to move down this road of developing the program. And so, accountability, you're staring at it right now. And it's not going anywhere else. It's right here.
Appreciate that.
You just said that $0.25 was for maintenance for the street department, it wasn't for, street repairs or nothing, cause when we voted for that, that's what that was supposed to be for.
It's for operation and maintenance of the street maintenance division.
But you were taking money out of them and doing projects. I thought that's now the tax dollars.
Right.
The street department's in the general fund, right?
No, sir, not
What
anymore.
about the salaries?
No. The only thing.
They
left-
were till this year.
No, they were until.
2 years ago?
2 years ago.
2 years ago.
2 years ago, they were completely removed from the general fund because the general fund could no longer support those activities.
You couldn't support their salaries?
No. Financially, no. So now it is a standalone enterprise fund that functions just like our water sewer fund.
Understand, but you know what? The biggest problem I have with this whole thing is the financial burden you're putting on the utility customers and the property tax payers. You said impact fees will not pay for nothing. That's money, where are you gonna put that money at? I know you're gonna use the houses that come in, they're gonna be paying utility bills and stuff. So why isn't that impact money gonna help a little bit into helping with the streets?
The impact fees, as Ryan stated, pay only or only allowed to be used for capacity expansions.
That's state law.
State law. Chapter, Local Government Code, Chapter 395 tells you exactly what these impact fees can be used for, and that has nothing to do with maintenance. It's all capacity expansion.
The last comment I'm gonna say, I think you're being over aggressive with the water projects. There's a lot of them projects I know from first hand that have been budgeted or tried to be put in the budget over 30 years ago.
Right.
And now all of a sudden, With inflation going up, you're gonna raise our utility rates. By the time 5 years is up, I'll be paying 50% more than what I'm paying this year. Then you're gonna add on $10 more to my utility bill. And I'm gonna tell you right now, I know how the city operates. You give 5 years, that $10, you'll ask for another $1 or $2 here. It's a trend. It's always been that way. And I know it has. So you're gonna keep raising our rates, our financial burden for this. We can only afford so much. You got auto insurance, Medicare keeps going up, and y'all hit us this year for about $30 more a month on a utility bill.
Nothing.
I have an issue with that. I think y'all should, go back and look at it and maybe downsize a little bit. Them streets have been out there for years, yeah, they're going bad, you can do what we can afford. And right now, you're burdening us with a lot. And I know it's not just this city, but I live in this city, I'm not worried about Killeen, I'm not worried about them. So that 1/4 sales tax is gonna still be for street maintenance.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
It's still
And then
for
on
street
top of that, you're going $10.
Yes, yeah, and all the comments that you shared, we'll share that with city council, because we've had that discussion with council. We told them, look, this is a relatively aggressive program for capital projects, capital improvements, and maintenance effort. So we didn't hide that. We made it very clear. But at the time that city council makes that decision, they have to make a decision based on what they know and what they are being told. You communicate with your city council. So communicate with your city council. And what you just did, you did that. And I appreciate you doing that, because they're the ones that are gonna make the decisions in the end on what the rates are and what projects we're going to do. Our job, Scott and my job, is to look at it from a position of, we're here today, we want to be here in level of service to our residents, and you determine what level of service your city provides. And you do.
Well, I'll just say one other thing, my wallet is not that aggressive.
You're understood, sir.
Amen.
Hey, we got a question over here.
The caveat on Teal Shirt Guy, I know from experience that every year we can adjust the fee schedule. And what he was saying is like, what's to say a few years down the road, $10 becomes $12 or $10 becomes $13.50. But so, and it escapes me, I can't remember, but can we guarantee in an ordinance where that $10 stays $10 for 5 or maybe 10 years and not inflates up higher?
The response to that is, yes, city council could put that in the ordinance. The city council, just being fully transparent with you, city council is the one who got the ordinance. So who can change the ordinance? City council. So, no, I can't make a guarantee. I can't. But here's what I can say, is we've already seen the condition of the streets. We drive it every day. And what I can guarantee is that the funding that is generated with this fee, you will see underneath the tires and underneath your feet and underneath your bicycle tires and your scooter tires as you're on the road. I can guarantee that. And city council will hold me responsible for that. And they have. Okay, other questions? Let's go with this gentleman. I haven't heard from you tonight. I haven't heard from you tonight.
When that damage like MetroNet, and do they reimburse for the time that the crews are out and the materials that they have to use and everything else?
We charge them for materials, labor, equipment costs, everything.
Like in my neighborhood.
Based on FEMA rates.
They hit a main, water main. The water crew and the road crew came out, because they had to dig up a section of the road to get to it. And while they were patching it, they hit 2 other mains.
Yeah.
in the area.
Yes, sir.
And the crew was pissed off because your crew was trying to patch the road, and so they couldn't do more drilling.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and that's our job, is to.
That's good.
When it comes to those types of things.
Surprise things.
We we try to be good partners, and they try to be good partners, but we only have so many people. We only have so many hours to work on stuff.
I understand.
Yeah.
The basic line. You pulled 3 crews that night.
Right.
And 2 water crews.
Yep.
Okay. Are they being charged regular fee? Where I work, at 5 o'clock, it became time and a half. Are we charging time and a half because we're gonna have to pay our employees?
I believe so, I can check on that directly, but that's, our goal is to recover the damages absorbed by the city. Overtime is indefinite damage. I believe those invoices are going over with that overtime. That's why we try to regulate when they can drill, when they need to shut down drilling. They have not always listened to that. So, getting a strike at 3 o'clock on a Friday night, that's gonna lead to overtime. The crews are gonna be out there until it's fixed. And that can be the next day.
And 3 water crews out.
Yep.
Right.
I think there's a young lady who had a question. No? Mature lady.
No, you were right the first time. No, it was just a question that popped into my head that I don't think anybody else has brought up. Is there any kind of distribution of funds based on traffic that uses a road? Like the road that I live on, Veterans Avenue, I looked at the statistics, the road statistics, and there's about 1 million vehicles a year that travel. About 1,000 vehicles a day pass in front of every house in that neighborhood. Is there any kind of distribution for vehicular usage? The amount of vehicles that are on a road in maintaining?
So.
Obviously this doesn't necessarily mean that there's going to be more damage on the road, but, the more vehicles there are, the more likely it is.
So I understand. Are you asking, should the
Put a toll road up
utility
there.
fee should the utility fee be based on the traffic that occurs in the neighborhood?
Is there something of that
Okay.
in how this money is distributed?
Yeah, the answer on the fee is no. It's not based on
Well, I mean,
how
how
much
the-
traffic is generated.
how
Now,
the
maintenance,
city
the maintenance
is
effort, the cost to go into the maintaining the road is based on the condition of the road. So Scott can address that.
And it's also based on a variety of different variables, including the demand on that roadway. Veterans, I go up and down that every single day. It's no beauty to drive up and down that street. That being said, in the past, the resources the city has allocated to streets have typically gone to your main thoroughfares. Veterans serves as one, MLK Junior serves as one, so you've seen those roadways mill and overlaid in the past. They seem to have been at least maintained a little bit better than the surrounding areas, right? That will continue under this. Why? Because that's where traffic needs to go the most. However, we need to make a step past just the main arterials. If you go down to 29th or at 27th, those roads are ate up. If you get over here in 11th and 9th, there's some of those sections you can't drive over unless you're going about 5 miles an hour.
Well, see, that's kind of what
Right.
I'm asking you about is
Right.
just because we have a significant amount of traffic on there, I mean, there are other things we'd like them to slow down, things like that
Sure.
are, because it's a significant amount of traffic, but yeah, I have driven other roads because I don't wanna go on the school there, where the people they pull over, so it's kind of a bottleneck, so I just think, okay, I'm not gonna add to it, I'm gonna go down a couple of blocks and go up. And some of those roads are just like, wow.
They're done.
And it's like, I know a lot of traffic are not on those those roads, but they need to be
Yes, ma'am.
maintained.
And that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But just to summarize, yes, there will be a heightened priority on these thoroughfares. Why? Because the community needs those to function, and that moves traffic the quickest, you know, and the function of roads is to get us somewhere and to get us back. That being said, we need to branch off into the actual neighborhoods to do what hasn't been done in 20 years. Yes, sir.
What about the railroad crossings? Does the railroad help with that, or, cause we got some railroad crossings that, where it comes like Grimes Crossing, one by the high school right there.
Yeah, so the improvements to the railroad crossings, yeah, the actual
I watched a car
crossing.
get hit by a train right there on that Grimes Crossing. I
Yeah,
had to record
the
it.
actual crossing itself is the railroad's responsibility, the part that's right by the tracks. The road that approaches that tracks, it might be TxDOT's responsibility. If it's a TxDOT road, it'll be the city's responsibility if it's the city road. Huh? Yeah, okay. But here's the great thing about the railroad crossings. We have actually partnered with the NSF Railroad, they're the one who owns that line. And, last year we applied for with them, and they are paying half of the match for a grant to study our railroad crossings, to improve them, and hopefully eliminate a major railroad at-grade crossing, so that it is off-grade or elevated or under the railroad tracks, which will really help make sure traffic is flowing better north and south in our city. But Grimes Crossing is one of them, 17th Street, absolutely, I don't even know why we have that crossing, except, you know, there's a whole neighborhood and the high school's right there. That is such a dangerous crossing. But yeah, the crossings downtown, I mean, a lot of traffic backs up when those trains are coming through. So they've partnered with us so that we can make improvements. Again, but that's a long-term effort, and a lot of what we do, I told you, we've been working on this fee for 13 years. And so, yeah, it's a long-term effort, but yes, we'll be looking at that. Yes, sir.
I'll bring something up. If we go with these street improvements, I hope that y'all look at what type of water lines are on these streets before you go paving that. Because a lot of the streets that you wanna pave, the reason they look the way they do is cause you got old galvanized water mains in there, and you go paving it, it's gonna leak on you, and you're gonna be back to square one. So
Nothing
I
worse than a
hope-
new street
I
with-
hope y'all
That's
look at
exactly
that
right.
and coordinate your street, rehabs with the water rehabs.
And that's one of the variables, Daniel, we have to look at. In the CIP plan for water, we have replacing a bunch of galvanized lines. But we need to sync up these improvements. If I get out there with a roller and start messing around on top of some of those 2-3 inch lines, they're gonna pop.
Of course they are.
And that doesn't make any sense to put a nice new thing and then just come out and dig it right back up. We're gonna look real stupid.
I would tell you, them galvanized lines have been
Yeah.
in budget for over 30 years.
Right.
And, you know,
and
if
they
we
need-
start working on these streets, I hope y'all look at what type of, water lines are in there.
Just like streets, we have a lot that remains to be done in the
course.
water. We have a
But-
lot that
but they've
remains to be
been
done
there.
in wastewater collection.
Yeah.
The question is, when do we do them?
Yeah.
They need to be done before they fail.
Did I see a question over here? No? Yes, sir.
Just along the lines of the water, have you guys looked into all these line breaks from Metronet and that sort of thing? Are they stressing our water system? I mean, our water lines, having to repressurize and pressurize all the time? And is that something that we're looking at getting reimbursement from Metronet?
The water line repairs are just that, they're point repairs. Sometimes we'll make that point repair and that'll cause, you know, that recharging, and it'll pop, 6 feet away. And then we'll be repairing that one and kind of chasing that until we get that bandaged up, so to speak. But all of those associated repairs, yes, we have been billing that to Metronet, because but for that break, that bore, that wouldn't happen.
Right.
But are they paying?
Are they paying? Yes. They are paying.
Yes. Yes, they are.
Yep. Other questions? I really appreciate you attending, you wanting to be informed about this street maintenance utility. Thank you for the good dialogue. As you can see, we don't always agree on everything. But if we can talk through it and we can talk about it reasonably and as civilized people, we will get through this. So I appreciate you attending. Know that there's more town halls coming up. On the flyer, that remember that QR code, or you can go to the city website and search street maintenance utility, find all the information. Go read up on it, and you can contact us with any other questions. Y'all have a great evening and be safe. Thank you.
Thank you all.